reform has basically, by and large, built its platform off of, and is one of its biggest diagnoses of problems in the UK as well, is migration. So how big is the economic impact of migration in the UK?
I think what we're seeing is, and I always bring it back to my town, right, Bedworth. I always bring it back to Bedworth because that is your average town. You know, it's got areas of deprivation and areas of affluence. So I always bring it back to that. And when it comes to immigration, we are seeing that people in Bedworth can't go to the GP, and it all comes down to economics at the end of the day. They can't go to GP. They can't get They can't get a dentist. There's too many people. And when I was speaking to some resident, it made sense. Why would you throw a party for 30 people and have a buffet for 30 people where everyone can have a decent plate of food, of services? You know, it's an analogy. And then 100 people just show up at the door, and you just let them in. And then everyone's got.
What if they're all caterers?
Sorry?
What if they're all caterers?
Well, they're not, though, are they?
Well, nice analogy. Well, I mean, like, you know, the NHS relies a lot on migration. 16%, for example, of NHS workers are foreign-born non-nationals of the UK. So actually, I think if you look at it is about economics. You're right, and you know, anecdotal stuff is important as well. But strictly, if you look at the economic data. There was a study done in 2023, for example, by the Migration Observatory, which does, you know, in-depth social scientific studies on this kind of thing, found that migration overall in the UK year to year has roughly a +1 or -1% impact on the GDP of the UK. That's a really small amount, actually. So it doesn't seem like it's the primary problem with services. Maybe it's austerity. Maybe it's inflation. But the data literally tells us that legal migration, at least, has a +1 or -1% impact on the GDP of the UK as a whole. So how can we say that it is immigration which is causing these problems?
Specifics. Yeah. Legal migration. Before you never mention which one.
I'm happy to talk about both, but if we can just stick on legal for a second.
Legal.